Welcome back, everyone, to the Sleep Cure. Tonight, we are diving deep into, sleep.
Yes, sleep.
Specifically, how to get better sleep,
Exactly.
especially if you're over, say, 55.
A demographic where sleep disturbances are unfortunately quite prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, over 40% of people over 55 in Latin America say they deal with insomnia at least a few times a month.
It's a staggering figure, and yet so many accept it as an inevitable consequence of aging.
Right. Oh, I'm getting older. Of course I don't sleep well. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Not at all.
That's what we're really digging into tonight, this idea that you can improve your sleep, maybe even starting tonight.
Potentially even with a technique that takes just 2 minutes.
2 minutes to better sleep. Who wouldn't want that? But before we get into the how-to, let's talk about why this is so important.
Absolutely. Sleep is not just about feeling rested. It's fundamental to our health.
Yeah, it's easy to think, oh, I'm just a little tired, but it goes way deeper than that.
It impacts virtually every system in the body.
Your heart, your brain,
Your memory, your immune system.
the whole works.
Precisely. And what we're going to explore is not some fringe theory, but a method rooted in solid science.
A method so effective it's even used by, get this, military personnel.
In high-stress situations, no less.
So if they can use it to sleep in, like a war zone,
Yeah,
we can probably handle it in our bedrooms, right?
exactly. And the best part is, this technique doesn't involve any medication or expensive gadgets.
Just you and your willingness to try something new.
And we'll also be discussing the common mistakes people make that sabotage their sleep, the foods that can hinder rest, and those important warning signs that it might be time to seek professional help.
All right, so before we dive in, as always, if you find this deep dive helpful, please do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
It really helps us reach more people who could benefit from this information.
All right, let's get to it. Now, when we talk about sleep problems, the first thing that usually comes to mind is,
A busy mind.
right, racing thoughts, worries, that kind of thing. But it's actually more complex than that, isn't it?
Absolutely. While a racing mind can certainly contribute to sleeplessness, it often stems from a deeper issue, a nervous system stuck in overdrive.
Okay, so explain that a bit more. Our nervous system has two modes, right?
That's right. The sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest mode.
Sympathetic, like when you see a bear in the woods, heart's racing, you're ready to run.
Precisely. And parasympathetic is when you're relaxed, digesting your food, ready to sleep.
So where does sleep fit into all of this?
Well, to fall asleep, your parasympathetic nervous system needs to be dominant. But if you're constantly stimulating your sympathetic nervous system, even if it's not a bear in the woods, it becomes much harder to transition into that restful state.
So even things that don't seem that stressful, like checking your phone before bed.
Or watching the news, or getting into an argument, or even just planning your day tomorrow, all of these can keep that sympathetic nervous system buzzing.
So it's not just about what's happening in our heads, it's about what's happening in our bodies, too.
Exactly. It's a physiological response. And on top of that, there's the issue of cortisol.
Cortisol, that's the stress hormone, right?
That's it. And while cortisol is important for energy and alertness during the day, if it stays elevated into the evening, it can seriously interfere with sleep.
What kinds of things can cause that, like keep cortisol high at night?
A lot of things people don't even think about, like drinking coffee late in the day.
Really, even just 1 cup after dinner?
It can make a difference for some people. And then there's eating heavy meals close to bedtime.
Okay, so your body's working hard to digest instead of winding down.
Precisely. Even being exposed to bright light in the evening can suppress melatonin production.
Melatonin, that's the sleep hormone, right?
Right. Your body needs it to signal that it's time to sleep.
So, bottom line, if we're having trouble sleeping, it's not just because we're not trying hard enough to relax. It's that our bodies are literally in a state of alert.
It's a sign that your nervous system is stuck in emergency mode. But here's the good news. We can retrain our bodies to sleep soundly again.
That's what we're going to talk about. But first, let's talk about what happens when we don't get enough sleep. Because it's not just about feeling tired, is it?
Not at all.
It's so much bigger than that.
The long-term effects of chronic sleep deprivation are far-reaching and often go unnoticed until it's too late.
Okay, so give us the rundown. What are we talking about here?
Well, studies have shown a pretty strong link between consistently getting less than 6 hours of sleep and an increased risk of heart disease. We're talking almost a 50% higher risk.
That's huge.
It is, and it doesn't stop there. Poor sleep has been linked to type 2 diabetes, hypertension, obesity, even some types of cancer.
So this isn't just about feeling sluggish. This is serious stuff.
Absolutely. And here's another piece of the puzzle that people might find surprising sleep is when your brain cleans itself.
Wait, the brain actually cleans itself?
It does. During deep sleep, a system called the glymphatic system kicks into gear and removes waste products from the brain. Think of it like your brain's nightly garbage disposal.
Wow, I never knew that. So what happens if we don't get enough deep sleep? Does the trash just pile up?
Essentially, yes. And some of this waste has been linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
So not getting enough sleep could be impacting our long-term brain health.
The research certainly suggests that.
And we all know sleep is important for our immune system.
Absolutely crucial. Even just one night of poor sleep can drastically reduce the effectiveness of your immune cells.
The cells that fight off viruses and infections.
The very same. Studies have shown a decrease of over 70% in their activity after just one night of interrupted sleep.
So good sleep isn't just about feeling good. It's like our body's built-in defense system.
You could say that. It's when our bodies repair, restore, and protect themselves.
Okay, so we've established that sleep is vital. But a lot of people listening are probably thinking, I already know that, but I still can't sleep. So let's talk about why that might be. What are some of the biggest mistakes people are making?
One of the biggest misconceptions is that insomnia just appears out of nowhere.
Like it's some random thing that hits us.
But in reality, our daily habits have a huge impact on our sleep.
So it's not just what we do right before bed, it's what we do all day long.
Exactly. And even seemingly small things can make a big difference.
Okay, let's talk about those small things. What are some of the most common mistakes people make without even realizing it?
Well, the first one is probably the most obvious, and that's using screens before bed.
Phones, tablets, TVs, the whole 9 yards.
Right. All those devices emit blue light, which actually signals to your brain that it's daytime.
So even if we're just scrolling through social media, our brains think it's time to be awake.
That's right. And this blue light suppresses the production of melatonin, which we need to fall asleep.
So even with our eyes closed, if our melatonin levels are low, we're not going to sleep as well.
Precisely.
Okay, so ditch the screens before bed. What else should we avoid?
Another big one is worrying or planning right before sleep.
Yeah, I'm totally guilty of that, making mental to-do lists when I should be relaxing.
It's a common trap. But that kind of mental activity, even if it doesn't feel stressful, it activates your sympathetic nervous system.
So we're back to that fight or flight response.
Exactly. Your body thinks there's something to worry about, so it stays alert.
Okay, so no screens and no worrying. What else?
Caffeine and alcohol, big culprits.
I think most people know about the caffeine. But what about alcohol? A lot of people think it helps them sleep.
It's true that alcohol can make you feel sleepy initially, but it actually disrupts your sleep cycles later in the night.
So you might fall asleep faster, but the quality of sleep isn't good.
Exactly. You'll wake up feeling groggy and unrested.
Okay, so caffeine and alcohol are off the menu. Anything else we should be aware of?
Another big one is irregular sleep schedules. Our bodies thrive on routine.
Yeah, going to bed and waking up at the same time every day.
Precisely. If your sleep schedule is inconsistent, it throws off your circadian rhythm, which is like your internal clock.
So like an orchestra without a conductor, things get messy.
A perfect analogy.
Okay, so avoid screens, worrying, caffeine, alcohol, and keep a regular sleep schedule. It sounds like good sleep hygiene is about creating a calming and consistent environment for our bodies.
That's a great way to put it. But we've also got a specific technique to share that can help switch off that stress response and make falling asleep much easier.
The 2-minute technique, right? The one used by the military.
The very same.
Okay, so tell us about this technique. What's the basic idea?
Well, the main goal is to consciously deactivate the stress response in your body and shift into that parasympathetic rest and digest mode.
And you said this was developed by the U.S. Navy, right?
Correct. They needed a way for their pilots to fall asleep quickly and reliably, even under extreme pressure.
I can imagine being a combat pilot must be incredibly stressful. So
Yeah.
how does this technique work?
It's a combination of muscle relaxation and controlled breathing. By consciously relaxing specific muscle groups, you're sending signals to your brain that it's safe to let go and relax.
So you're essentially tricking your body into thinking it's time to sleep.
You could say that. And the breathing exercises help to further calm your nervous system.
This is all starting to sound pretty good, and I bet people are wondering how effective this really is.
Well, studies have shown that with consistent practice, over 90% of people who use this technique correctly can fall asleep within 2 minutes.
Wow, that's impressive. But you emphasize consistent practice. How long does it usually take to see results?
Most people start to notice a difference within a few weeks, but for some, it can take a little longer. It's like learning any new skill. It takes time and effort.
Okay, so are you ready to walk us through the technique step by step?
Absolutely.
Right.
I encourage everyone listening to find a comfortable position, preferably lying in bed. Make sure the lights are dim, your phone is put away, and you're ready to focus.
Okay, everyone ready? Let's do this.
First, we're going to focus on relaxing your face. Gently close your eyes and consciously let go of any tension you're holding in your forehead.
So just smooth out your brow, let your eyebrows relax.
Yes. Now move your attention to your jaw. Let it go slack. Feel your teeth unclench.
And don't forget your tongue. It often holds a lot of tension without us even realizing it.
Good point. Let your tongue rest comfortably in your mouth. And finally, relax the muscles around your eyes.
Like you're letting your whole face melt.
Exactly. Notice how much tension we carry in our faces without even being aware of it.
Okay, face is relaxed. Now what?
Now let your attention move down to your shoulders. Let them drop. Feel the weight of your arms pulling them down.
Like they're made of lead.
Yes. Now focus on relaxing your biceps, your forearms, all the way down to your fingertips.
Imagine your arms are heavy, sinking into the bed.
Good. Now take a deep breath in, and as you slowly exhale, bring your attention to your legs.
Start with your thighs, feeling them relax and release any tension.
Then move down to your knees, your calves, and finally your feet. Visualize each part of your legs disconnecting, becoming heavy and relaxed.
Like they're melting into the mattress.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've relaxed our face, our arms, and our legs. What's the final step?
Now it's time to quiet your mind. For the next 10 seconds, simply repeat the phrase, don't think, don't think, don't think.
If you find it hard to just not think, you can also try visualizing a calming image.
A good one is to imagine yourself floating in a canoe on a peaceful lake with nothing but blue sky above you.
Just focus on that image and let any other thoughts drift away.
And that's it. The whole process should take less than 2 minutes.
No, don't try to force yourself to sleep. Just focus on relaxing your body and clearing your mind.
Sleep will come naturally if you create the right conditions.
And remember, practice makes perfect. Do this every night for at least a week and see how your body responds.
You might be surprised how quickly you start to fall asleep more easily.
Okay, so we've talked about the 2-minute technique. Now let's shift gears and talk about some other things we should be avoiding in the hour or so before bed.
Right, because good sleep hygiene isn't just about the 2 minutes before you fall asleep. It's about creating a restful environment for yourself all evening.
So what should we be avoiding in that last hour before bed?
Number 1, no more screens.
Yeah, we talked about the blue light, but it's not just that, is it?
Right. What you're looking at on those screens matters too. Checking email, scrolling through social media, or watching the news can all trigger stress and anxiety.
Even if we don't consciously realize it.
Exactly. Your body is still reacting to that information, releasing stress hormones that make it harder to sleep.
Okay, so screens are out. What else?
Heavy meals close to bedtime.
So no late night pizza or ice cream binges.
It's best to finish dinner at least a couple of hours before you plan to sleep.
Why is that?
When you eat a big meal close to bedtime, your body is working hard to digest it, which can interfere with sleep.
And no one wants to wake up with indigestion or heartburn.
Exactly.
All right, what else should we avoid?
Arguments or stressful conversations.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Sometimes that's when you finally have time to talk to your partner.
I understand, but those types of conversations can be very stimulating, both emotionally and physiologically.
So even if you think you're having a calm discussion, your body might be going into stress mode.
That's right. It's better to save those conversations for another time and create a peaceful atmosphere in the bedroom.
Okay, so no screens, no heavy meals, and no arguments before bed. Anything else?
Be mindful of your fluid intake.
Meaning, don't drink too much before bed.
Exactly. You don't want to be waking up multiple times to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that can really disrupt your sleep.
It can.
Yeah.
So try to limit fluids in the last hour or two before bed.
And finally, we need to talk about exercise.
Exercise is great for sleep overall, but timing is key.
So working out right before bed is a no-no.
It's generally best to avoid intense exercise in the few hours before bed.
Why is that?
Exercise raises your core body temperature and stimulates your metabolism, which can make it harder to fall asleep.
So morning or afternoon workouts are better for sleep.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of things to avoid. Now let's talk about some things that can actually help us sleep better.
Absolutely. There are certain foods and habits that can promote relaxation and prepare your body for a good night's sleep.
Lay it on us. What are some things we can do to set ourselves up for sleep success?
Well, one thing you can do is incorporate foods rich in tryptophan into your dinner.
Tryptophan, that sounds familiar. What is it again?
It's an amino acid that helps your body produce serotonin and melatonin.
Ah, those are the neurotransmitters that help us relax and sleep.
Precisely.
So what foods are good sources of tryptophan?
Things like turkey, eggs, bananas, oatmeal, chia seeds, and flax seeds.
So, like a dinner of turkey and mashed sweet potatoes with some flax seeds sprinkled on top could be a good sleep-promoting meal.
That sounds like an excellent choice.
Okay, so tryptophan for dinner. What else can we do?
Herbal teas are fantastic for promoting relaxation and sleep.
Like chamomile tea.
Chamomile is a great one. Others include valerian root and lavender.
So a warm cup of tea before bed can help calm the mind and body.
Exactly. It's a great way to signal to your body that it's time to wind down.
Okay, tea time. Any other tips?
Taking a warm bath about an hour before bed can be very helpful.
Really? Why is that?
The warm water raises your body temperature slightly, and then as you cool down afterward, it signals to your body that it's time for sleep.
So it kind of mimics the natural drop in body temperature that happens when we fall asleep.
Exactly. And you can add some lavender essential oil to the bath for an extra calming boost.
Ooh, that sounds nice. Okay, warm bath, check. What else?
Don't underestimate the power of deep breathing.
Yeah, we're always talking about deep breathing for stress management, but it can help us sleep too.
Absolutely. Taking a few minutes to practice deep, slow breaths before bed can help calm your nervous system and quiet your mind.
So like 5 or 10 minutes of focused breathing can make a difference.
It can, and you can do it right before you start the 2-minute technique we talked about earlier.
Perfect. Any last tips before we wrap up?
Just remember to create a relaxing environment in your bedroom.
So dim the lights, maybe play some calming music.
Exactly. Make your bedroom a sanctuary for sleep.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground tonight, but I know there are people listening who are thinking, I've tried all that and I still can't sleep. So what's the next step for them?
It's important to recognize that if you've been struggling with insomnia for a while and it's not improving with these lifestyle changes, it might be time to talk to your doctor.
What are some signs that we should be looking out for, like red flags that something more serious might be going on?
One red flag is if you fall asleep easily but wake up frequently throughout the night.
So you're getting enough hours in bed, but the sleep is constantly interrupted.
Right. That could be a sign of sleep apnea, which is a condition where your breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep.
Yeah, that can be pretty serious, right?
It can. It disrupts your sleep cycles and can lead to other health problems.
Okay, so frequent waking is one red flag. What else?
Another one is persistent anxiety or racing thoughts at night.
Where you just can't shut off your brain, even though you're exhausted.
Exactly. That can be a sign of an underlying anxiety disorder or even depression.
So it's not just about sleep. There might be other things going on that need to be addressed.
Right. And another red flag is feeling exhausted during the day, even after a full night's sleep.
So you're getting enough hours, but you're still not feeling rested.
Right. That suggests the quality of your sleep is poor and there might be an underlying medical condition contributing to it.
Okay, so if you're experiencing any of those things, talk to your doctor.
Definitely.
And what about sleep medication? Is that a good long-term solution?
Sleep medication can be helpful in the short term, but it's not a long-term solution.
Why not?
For one thing, many sleep medications can be habit-forming, and they often mask the underlying problem rather than addressing it.
So you might be getting sleep, but you're not actually fixing what's causing the insomnia.
Right. And some sleep medications can have side effects, especially for older adults.
So it's best to try lifestyle changes and behavioral techniques first.
And if those aren't working, talk to your doctor about other options.
Great advice. So the takeaway here is that chronic insomnia is not something we should just accept as normal.
Exactly. Good sleep is possible, and it's essential for our health and well-being.
All right, so we've covered a lot tonight, but I think the most important message is this. Our bodies know how to sleep. We just need to help them remember.
I love that. It's not about forcing sleep. It's about creating the right conditions for it to happen naturally.
When we've talked about so many practical things we can do, from the 2-minute technique to changing our diet and habits.
Small changes can make a huge difference.
And if those changes aren't enough, there are other options available, like sleep clinics and therapy. So no one should suffer from chronic insomnia.
Absolutely.
All right, so as we wrap up tonight, I want to leave you with this thought. What's one thing you can commit to doing differently tonight to improve your sleep?
Will you ditch the phone an hour before bed? Try a cup of chamomile tea. Maybe even give that 2-minute technique a try.
Whatever it is, make that commitment to yourself. Your body will thank you for it.
And as always, if you found this deep dive helpful, please give it a like and share it with anyone you know who might benefit.
And be sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives on all things health and wellness.
Sweet dreams, everyone.
Sleep tight.